Welcome back to From Book to Business. I'm Trina Boice. I'm a best-selling author of 30 books, and I have a fantastic guest today who is an influencer and YouTuber and social media expert. Her name is Mimi Bascom.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to share some of your expertise. So, the first thing we want to know is, how did you get started as a YouTuber? And then we'll dive into the influencer stuff because I'm super excited to hear about that.
Yes, absolutely. So my whole entire life, I grew up thinking that I wanted to be on the news. I loved watching the news. I loved watching the news anchors and the reporters that got to go out to the scene. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever because I grew up doing acting and modeling. And so I've loved the whole industry. And then it was about 2 years ago that I actually saw a YouTube channel that I frequently watched called Three Mormons at the time. They were holding auditions for new hosts on their show. And it's a religious channel all about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they talk about the doctrine of the church and news and things like that. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity to get my foot in the door. So I went ahead and I auditioned and I got onto that channel, which I was so excited about. And I've been doing, the name of the channel is now called Saints Unscripted. And so I've been on that channel for about 2 years. And then about a year ago, I decided that I also wanted to start my own YouTube channel that I was able to kind of just be more creative, be in charge of the different videos that I was putting out and the editing. And so I started that. And that's how I got involved in YouTube. And I realized that wanting to do news and being on the news growing up, I've been able to fulfill that within YouTube. And it's been perfect and exactly what I've always wanted. So I love it.
Oh, and tell us the name of your YouTube channel.
The name of my YouTube channel is Mimi Bascom. So just my full name, and it should pop right up.
Yeah, perfect. So subscribe to Mimi. Obviously, subscribe to this channel as well. So tell us, I know I've got a lot of authors that I work with as clients, and they're scared to get started on YouTube because it takes a while to build a following. And so what are your tips and your recommendation to help them to be brave to get started, and then also how to combat discouragement, when it takes a long time to build up your subscriber base?
Absolutely. I feel like I kind of got a head start. I was super lucky since I was coming from a different YouTube channel to starting my own. Obviously, some of the audience from that channel came to me. However, it did not build up as quickly as I thought. Just like you said, it can be super discouraging on YouTube because I feel like subscribing to someone on YouTube is just more of a commitment than just liking their page on Facebook or following them on Instagram. So I was really discouraged when I first started out, and I just thought it was taking much longer than it needed to be or that it should be. But when I took a step back and I remembered, hey, everybody starts here. Everybody starts from zero. And sometimes it just takes a while to get things built up. That helped me feel a lot better about it. So I definitely think consistency is key. And if you are creating videos about things that you love, it should be more about that and about that passion than just trying to get a ton of views on it. That should be just what happens naturally. And I think the other thing that really helped me start building up an audience now a bit more quickly is having a specific niche. Because in the beginning, I was like, well, I'm just going to do videos about whatever I want to, and people will just like it. I don't know. I thought they would just like me first. But what I realized is you need to have your specific audience set in stone and make videos for that audience specifically, because the more people, or let me say this right, there's a quote I really like that it like changed my life. It was the more people you're speaking to, the less people you're connecting with. And when I really got that set in stone, I didn't want to isolate anybody with my channel originally. I was like, well, I want to post videos that a wide audience will like. But then I realized the more people I'm speaking to, the less I'm actually connecting with. So now I really focus on just religious content. And even though I'm speaking to a smaller size group, it has helped me grow a lot faster. So I really think that's key. Even though it can be scary at first, it's definitely worth it.
That's fantastic advice. And I am a horrible example of that. You and I were just talking about this YouTube channel. I started back before really anybody knew what YouTube was all about. And I was doing vlogging for a company that was genealogy related content. And then I'd throw on videos about my kids. And so there's just like random stuff. And so now when you come to Trina Boice, it's about author Trina Boice and my coaching and helping other people become experts in their business and their expertise. And so, not that that's a smooth transition, but a lot of YouTubers become influencers, especially if they're super cute like you. So, tell us, how did you get started becoming an influencer? And what people really want to know, how do you make money? How do you get corporate gigs or companies to work with you doing all that?
Absolutely. So I feel like I got Instagram right when it first started. I signed up, I think I was in middle school. And so my Instagram has not always been what it is now. That's been a more recent transition. I kind of just used Instagram how I used Facebook now, which was just posting pictures, random pictures about my life, using it to interact with other people. And then there came a point where I realized, like, hey, I really like this social media thing. I want to do it full time. So I want to be able to maximize all of my different platforms so that eventually I can start making a larger income from this and I can do it full time. So I decided then that I was going to start using Instagram more for a business purpose. And that was about, I think like a year and a half ago, I really wanted to dive in. And so what I started doing again was just posting specifically for people in that niche audience that I had established. And
The
once
same niche audience as your YouTube channel or different?
yes,
Same.
same audience. And I think it doesn't always have to be that way, but for me, that's what I decided to do. I think for me, because I post about religious content, like that's a big driver for me, and motivation is I really want to get across to younger people who are of my faith that, hey, religion is still relevant and you can still be cool and be religious. So that's been kind of my mission. And so I think that's why I have one specific audience. But with Instagram, again, once I started just talking to that specific audience, I started growing quicker, because when people found my profile and then they were in that target demographic, they're like, this profile is just for me, which is exactly what we wanted. And so then I started just putting more time and effort into my Instagram pictures and my captions. Something I've been trying to do now is actually think more about the caption than the photo. Because I used to be just like, oh, just snap a quick picture of my outfit and then whatever caption goes with it will go. But now I try to have more of a purpose behind it. And I try to think of what message I want to convey. And that helps me put more effort into my images as well. And also just being consistent on the platform too. I used to post literally like once a month. And now I've been trying to post 3 to 4 times a week. So those would be my biggest tips, I guess, for starting to build up an audience. And then once you I think I started doing brand deals when I was around like 3,000 followers on Instagram. And then once I got to that point, I started having brands reaching out to me. And then I also joined a couple databases that have been really great for also being able to reach out to other brands too.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned wearing your cute outfits and you've got some clothes behind you.
Yeah.
Are you doing mostly like clothing brand deals now or religious kind of stuff? Or what kinds of deals are you accepting or looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's been a lot of fashion, beauty, kind of lifestyle things. There's honestly been a big variety because I'm not specifically a fashion influencer. I consider myself more lifestyle, but that does include some fashion, some other kinds of products too. I just make sure that anytime before I'm accepting a brand deal, like how is my audience going to perceive this? Are they going to use this? Are they going to think it's valuable? If it's just something that I like, because sometimes I have specific things that like I just like to do. Like I'm a rock climber. So I'm like, I'm not going to take a rock climbing brand deal though, because that's something that I enjoy, but not a majority of my audience won't relate to it.
Interesting. And speaking of fashion, you actually were on a reality TV show about fashion.
Yes.
How did you get into that?
So that was a couple years ago. That was when I was back doing acting stuff. So I was just with an agency and I don't even remember exactly how it all went down, but it was a modeling reality TV show. So back in that time, I was still really into modeling, and I got onto this show, which was an amazing experience. It was an international reality TV show. So I love reality TV. So I really like to see the behind the scenes of how everything actually works. It's not as real as you may think.
Oh,
But
no.
I know, big surprise. But I thought it was a really cool experience. And again, there, I was trying to really express, like, I wasn't trying to push my faith or anything, but I was trying to show the message of I can model and I can still be an influencer and a model while still retaining my values, because I believe in modesty. I don't drive. That's just a standard that I upkeep myself. So anyway, I thought it was a really cool experience, not just to be a part of that, but also be able to share a little bit about me on a wider platform.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. I mean, I think everybody kind of secretly wonders, what would it be like to be on a reality TV show?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that's awesome that you had that experience. And if you're interested, everybody, go watch her channel, because she tells you all about what happened with that experience, which is a really fun episode of your or not your podcast, your YouTube channel. Anyway, okay, so back to influencing. So do you put a lot of social media into a lot of different platforms, or are you pretty much an IG girl?
That's a great question. I would say my main platforms are Instagram and YouTube. I would love to be doing more, but I think that's such a struggle that a lot of us social media people have. Is you hear about TikTok is upcoming. There's Pinterest, there's Facebook, there's so much you can be doing. And I think it's so important not to spread yourself too thin. But I only do social media part-time because I also work and I'm in school. So if I had more time, I would definitely put more effort into those platforms and at least being present there. But for right now, it's just been mostly Instagram and YouTube.
But it really, ultimately, the marketing strategy is find out where your audience is and go there.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I'm so interested to hear what you think about TikTok, because I've looked at it and I was like, I don't know. What do you think?
Oh my goodness, it's so funny because I work for a marketing company where we have one main client. And so that's been something that we've really been looking into, is because we know the TikTok demographic is Gen Z, younger Gen Z. So they're like 15 to 16 right now is where it's really at. But it's been interesting over the last few months just seeing the brands and the older people start to take over. We've been seeing a lot of like parents have really cute parenting TikTok videos. When before it was mostly just these young kids lip syncing to popular songs.
Right.
I've been torn on it. I've been thinking about just making a couple and seeing if it starts to pick up, because it would be a platform that would be like bringing people to my other platforms. I don't have the time or capacity to make TikTok a whole nother thing right now. So if I try it out and I see that it's successful at bringing people to my other platforms, then I'll do it. But if not, I don't really have the resources to do it. But I think it's such a fun platform, very addicting. So be careful because you can be on there.
That's what I hear. Addicting is always the word that I hear associated with that. But I mean, honestly, almost all social media platforms can be very addicting, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So again, back to the influence, and you mentioned that there are some websites or companies that you've aligned yourself with to get gigs. I know of a couple that I've been working with. Tell me which ones that you like and would recommend to somebody who might be interested in becoming an influencer.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that one that I started with, so this one's great for if you're just starting influencing. It's called Localfluence, I believe.
Yes.
And so
And
that
I've
is
heard it's
one.
really big in Utah.
Yes.
Right? Because I've tried, I'm a registered member, but I live in Vegas and they have like basically nothing to offer.
Oh, cute. Yeah, I didn't know if it was mostly just in Utah, but that's a good one because there's not a really high like follower requirement. I'm trying to think of other ones that don't have.
I think the beginning threshold is 1,000. Don't you have to have 1,000, or is it 500 subscribers or followers?
Sure.
But anyway, yeah, my niece does it. She lives in Utah and she loves it.
When you start out though, I'm sure if you search, there's some platforms that are great for people starting out because it's not in exchange for any payment at that point because you're still starting. So they'll give you free meals, products or discounts on meals or things like that. So I think that's great just to get your foot in the door. And then if you do, once you grow your following, you can show other brands when you start to apply for paid gigs. You can say, hey, I've done this before. This is how many people I reached with this campaign I did with this brand. So I think it's really good experience to build up.
Right. And I know on some of the other platforms, they want to see all of your social media reach, and then they want you to bid for campaigns and tell them, why you're so fantastic. So
Yeah.
because you work also on the corporate level, what is it you think corporations or companies are looking for in an influencer? What things could you say that would appeal to them and attract them?
Absolutely. I think that the biggest thing is honestly community. I think that this is why a lot of brands have been going away from huge influencers with like hundreds of thousands of followers to more micro influencers, is because you want to you want to collaborate with an influencer who has a community that really trusts their opinion. So that's my biggest thing that I try to focus on when I'm bidding to brands is I say, hey, I know there's 1,000 influencers who have way more followers than me, but I direct message a lot of my followers. I go live once a month and I have this tight knit group. And I think that is what has helped me get a lot more deals, is just having that community of people who trust me, because honestly, it's so easy to buy followers. It's so easy to buy likes, buy comments even. So I think what brands are really looking for is that authentic engagement and trust with your audience.
So that's fantastic advice. Thank you for mentioning that.
Sure.
Okay, so what other tips do you have for someone who's starting to build a subscriber or a follower base on Instagram? Do you recommend, for example, also having a Facebook group, or do you feel like that's distracting?
Oh, that's a good question. There's been a lot of really interesting things about Facebook groups I've been seeing, especially with their new big push for it. So we know anytime that a social media platform has a new feature and they're pushing it, the more you use it, the more you're rewarded for it. But I don't necessarily think, because I thought about it and I had even created a group that I thought about like using to just host my community. But I decided eventually not to do it just because it was going to take away too much from Instagram and YouTube, which are my two main platforms. So I think that Facebook groups can be huge. And if you have the capacity for it and you really want to host like a group of people who can all get together and chat and share advice with one another, I think that's great. But I think you also just have to, don't spread yourself too thin. Don't take on more than you can handle.
Yeah, that's good advice. I've got several Facebook groups on different things, putting links up above and below, my little shameless plug. And depends on the niche, really, is I think the best answer to the question, should I do it or not? It depends on, are your people Facebook people? If so, they're going to want to hang out in your group on Facebook. But if they're Instagram people, then they'll want to direct message you and hang out and do that kind of stuff there, or YouTube as well. So anyway, yeah, I think it just really depends on, again, who your target audience is. I think it's super important to be crystal clear on who your target audience is, because that determines all of your marketing, where you go, what you say, obviously who you're saying it to, when you say it, all of that. So my advice is always be very crystal clear on who your audience is.
Oh yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah. So now, and speaking of audience, if you would like to meet both of us in person, we are actually going to be speaking at the LDS PMA Conference at BYU in their conference center this September 24th to the 26th. And we're going to be talking about YouTube specifically, right?
Yes, I can't wait.
It's an awesome conference. So if you've never been, well, I know you haven't, but if anybody watching has never been and you're curious, check out the website, because the speakers are phenomenal and the attendees are amazing. And you just make such great friends and networking. And do you ever go to influencer conferences, for example?
Yes, I went to CVX Live, not this year, but last year I went. I think the networking is all really valuable. That one's a mostly YouTube conference, but also I had like an industry pass. So I went to a lot of the breakout sessions.
Oh.
it was incredible. I think with social media, the industry changes so quickly, so much. So it's good to go to things like that regularly just to be in the loop.
All right, so tell us about any of your projects that you're working on that you want us to know about and where we can find you in addition to YouTube and Instagram.
Yes, absolutely. So, like I said before, my main mission on social media is just to post uplifting content that shows people that it's still cool and okay to be religious, because we know that religion in the United States is really going down. So, if you are someone who relates to that, we would love to have you on board our family, specifically if you're a Latter-day Saint. And so on YouTube, my name is Mimi Bascom, and I have on YouTube, I talk about all things LDS doctrine, news, and culture. And then on Instagram, yes, so subscribe to me there. I'm also on another YouTube channel called Saints Unscripted, and that's more of just teaching people about what my church believes. And then on Instagram, I do a lot of different modest clothing ideas. And I try to do a lot of giveaways. I try to do giveaways like once a month. So if you're interested in free stuff, definitely follow my Instagram, and I'm sure we'll have it linked here. It's at mimi.bascom.
Awesome. And you had me at free stuff. So as an influencer, how do you get free stuff? How are you working with companies to offer prices with stuff like that?
Yeah, so it's been great. Now that I've built my social media following more, it's been awesome because I've been able to get free stuff, not only for me, but for my followers too. So when I was first starting out, it kind of went like this. So first, when I was smaller, I had brands reaching out to me offering free stuff. Now, and then the next step was they would offer free stuff and they would pay me my rate for an Instagram post or story. And now I'm to the point where I'm able to get my rate and also get the free product for me and my followers too. So like I have a giveaway going on right now for a swimsuit. I don't know when this will go up, if it'll still be up, but it's been really cool to benefit my fan base in that way. And also giveaways are obviously a great way to build your following because people tag their friends to enter. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a fantastic tip too. So years ago, one of my first few books was called Thinking Outside the Green Gelatin Box. And it was actually tips for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also for Relief Society, which is a women's organization. And so I was just sort of playing off of the whole Utah green Jello thing. And so I called a Jello company, a gelatin company, and they were like, "What? Who are you?" Because I was still a fairly new author, because I wanted to get green Jello to give away, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't know who you are." So I was so deflated, and then I was like, "But wait, there are more than just that one company." So then I contacted another. I'll tell you who they were because they really came through. It was the Royal Gelatin Company, and they said, "Utah? Did you say Utah?" Because they know Utah is like the Jello capital of the world. So they gave me 1,000 boxes of green gelatin to pass out at book signings and tours and stuff like that. And then like another 1,000 certificates for free gelatin that I could pass out. So yay, green gelatin or Royal Gelatin Company. So
that is awesome.
all you have to do is ask. So when I work with authors, I always try to find some kind of merchandising tie-in and then approach the companies, because the worst they can say is no. And then you just try a different company, because I love freebies. Free's my jam. So I highly recommend that. And that's awesome that you can get prizes for yourself or free stuff for yourself, but then have extra to share it with your subscribers. That's awesome. How fun.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for spending some time with us. Any final thoughts of wisdom or tips for my audience?
Stay in your own lane and really don't just look at what everyone else is doing. I feel like when sometimes you set benchmark goals for yourself, like once I hit 1,000 or 5,000 followers, I'll be happy and I'll be content with that. But then once you reach that point, you see someone else who's doing your same thing and they have 100,000 followers. And so I know it can be so discouraging, but just do what you're passionate about and let that be the driving factor behind what you do on social media, because otherwise it is so easy to start comparing yourself with other people, and you don't want that. So just stay true to what you're doing. Don't give up and keep listening to Trina because she's so wonderful. She really knows what she's talking about. That would be my biggest advice.
Oh, well, thank you. That's actually great advice. I mean, the part about Trina is great too, but what you just said, that was perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the good that you're doing, for spreading light in the world. We definitely need more of that. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Good. I'm glad. Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.